Cam Newton is cut from the Patriots. Interesting position there with the Patriots. I personally disagree with it, and I'll say why in a second. That being said, obviously that moves up Mac Jones to being a starter. So going back to Cam Newton, I think his time in the NFL is pretty much coming to an end. He was very bad last year. I looked at the statistics in terms of this preseason compared to Mac Jones. They're nearly identical. And you're looking at Cam Newton, who's only going to regress from this point on, had a pretty abysmal season last season. And you have Mac Jones, who's a rookie quarterback, is performing the same practically, if you're going by the numbers, as him in the preseason. So obviously you go with Mac Jones. However, I don't know if Mac Jones is ready to start yet. And even when guys technically are ready to start, I'm always in favor of holding them off for a little bit, letting them, come into games, real live action games where you have, first teams on first teams later in the season, let Cam Newton play a couple of games first, and then put Mac Jones in later and then gradually switch over to Mac Jones. That's the way I personally do it. However, I think Mac Jones has performed very, very well in the preseason. The Patriots are very confident in him. And obviously, they're going with him as their starter going into week 1. Max?
Yeah, this is a move that definitely came out of left field for sure. I can't say I agree with it. I don't entirely disagree with it, though, just based on the way he played last year. I've hit on this theme a lot since the first podcast of this year, and I'm going to say it again. Cam Newton's another one of those players at this point. He's just a name. If you watch him play last year, he obviously was not good. He's not going to throw the ball very far down the field, and his body's deteriorating. He can't run like he used to. It's just nowhere near the same player he once was. And I mean, I can't see why they cut him just now, other than the fact that he's really just not good. And I honestly think it's as simple as that. I think if I can remember correctly, I believe Cam Newton was he one of those players that had a problem with the vaccine?
I can't remember.
I do think he was having issues with that, and there were people out there saying that was part of the reason. Let me just say, I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. Let me tell you, if Bill Belichick thought he was good enough to be on the roster, he'd be on that roster. He obviously told us he doesn't think Cam is good enough, and that's why he's cut at this point.
Mm-hmm. And I agree there. I don't think Cam Newton had a future with this team. I think cutting him a little bit early is not the end of the world. It should be interesting to see how Mac Jones pans out. Looking at him coming out of the draft, he was not one of the most highly touted quarterbacks coming out of this draft. You got Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, and obviously Trevor Lawrence way ahead of him. But Mac Jones has showed a lot of promise. He was not a quarterback that I thought really had a lot of promise in the NFL. Especially, I remember this one photo I saw of him looking kind of out of shape at Alabama, and saying this guy's the starter of the New England Patriots, and it's kind of crazy. At the same time, look at guys that maybe not are in the best athletic composition, I would say. A guy like a Eli Manning, a Peyton Manning, two guys that come off the top of my head as a Giants fan. Tom Brady, he's longevity, but when you look at his physique, it's nothing crazy. But Mac Jones could fill that role again. And what I see this happening is sort of Bill Belichick. I've mentioned this over past podcasts. He's essentially restarting the way he did with Brady. When you think back to the Patriots of the early 2000s, when I think of those Patriots, especially in offense, top 3 players, I think you got Tom Brady, who's a surging quarterback. You have 2 tight ends, Aaron Hernandez, who obviously we know what happened to him. Great tight end while he played in the NFL, obviously externally made some bad decisions, to say the least. And then you have Gronk. And so you have that 2 tight end setup with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, and now Mac Jones. So that's kind of how I see this offense unfolding going forward.
Mac Jones is definitely going to be limited due to his athleticism. He's probably not going to win you a lot of games on his legs, and he's probably not going to be a great game changer. I personally thought he's a pretty good thrower, but even then, you don't need a guy who's really athletic to win, especially with Tom Brady. As great of shape as he's in, he's only gotten better since he's gotten in the league, which is incredible to say. He's 43 and looks better than he is at 22. Even then, Tom Brady would not win you games on his feet or his athleticism or even his arm strength. He won you games because he was smart and he knew how to win games. And that's probably what Belichick's going for in Mac Jones. I mean, he went to the winningest program in college. And for the past few years, besides last, he's going to the winningest team in the NFL. So, I mean, I think he's in good hands because he certainly should know how to win because he's played for 2 of the best head coaches in all of football.
Exactly. And going off of that, Mac Jones, he's got to be a great decision maker because when you hear about the Patriots, especially their offensive playbook, and they say it's one of the reasons that Cam Newton struggled last year was that the Patriots have probably the hardest playbook to learn in the NFL in terms of making good decisions and making the right reads. They run a lot of quick short passes and they run the ball a lot. So you got to be a quick decision maker in terms of the Patriots offense. And obviously Bill Belichick feels confidence in Mac Jones to do that.